I'll tell you what, man, I really am strong into faith. So I think that economies come and go, success comes and goes, but faith is there forever. So if my kids can develop a deep faith, to me, that's the most important thing. Like more than the money, more than any of that stuff, faith in God, 100%. But beyond that, I just really want to celebrate them. And I know some parents are diehard, you got to go to this college. Listen, I did a bachelor, master, and doctorate, and I kind of think, I don't know, like I'm not really going to push my kids towards college because now I love entrepreneurship. And it's not that all the schooling was bad, but I feel like sometimes we overestimate it. And we put too much importance on it.
What's doing, everybody? Welcome to First Class Fatherhood. I'm Alec Lace, and before I hit you with today's interview, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the link in the description so you can listen to all of the interviews I've done with so many tremendous dads, including Dana White, Deion Sanders, Tony Hawk, and so many others. Now let's get going with today's interview. Joining me now, First Class Father, Kary Oberbrunner. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Hey, Alec, it's great to be here, my friend.
All right, let's start it right here. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
3 kids, 15, 13, and 11.
Wow, very cool. What kind of sports activities are they all into?
So my son is into esports. He was into basketball, but he's made the transition and he's aspiring YouTube, Twitter, the whole thing. My youngest daughter is certified babysitter. I'm sorry, my middle daughter, Isabel, she's certified babysitter. She loves drama and as in like theater, not teenage drama. And then my youngest daughter, Addison, she's the beast. She's in basketball and pretty much any sport.
Yeah, very cool, Kary. If you could, please just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Sure. So I am the CEO of a publishing company. And Alec, just to be 100% real with everybody, I started out being a pastor way back from college and seminary, and struggled with depression, struggled with self-injury, stuttering, you name it. Was thinking about being an Air Force chaplain, got locked out because of childhood asthma, and really it went on a journey of deep exploration, struggle, and really having to overcome a lot of inner demons. And long story short, I published my first book in 2004 and did 9 since then, and just cracked the code on how to take a book and turn it into 18 streams of income. So I became an entrepreneur at age 35. Been doing that now for 9 years and absolutely loving it.
Wow, very incredible, Kary. Now, so you say doing that 9 years. Back us up here to take us back to the beginning of your fatherhood journey. About how old were you then when you became a dad, and along this process, and how did becoming a father kind of change your perspective here on life?
Tell you what, man, my wife and I got married in October 14th, October 14th, the year 2000. And we had our son at 2005. So we were 5 years into marriage, and having a child changed everything. I think in the beginning, I really dug fatherhood because I like doing activities. And when the kids were young, man, I would take them everywhere. So I'd take them to the parks. I took them to Home Depot to build little crafts, pretty much everything activity wise. But as they've gotten to be teenagers, it is a shift. And I'm not going to lie, like that's been a transition, man. Like to realize when they're young, you're their coolest hero in the world and they want to do everything. And now when they're teenagers, it's like, let's go here. I don't want to. Let's go here. No, I don't want to. So it really is been this transition of having to learn that they're humans with feelings, preferences, and it's not just the, hey, dad said it, so let's do it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. My oldest is 15. My second son will be 14 next month. And then we got a 10 and a 6. So we got 2 teenagers and then 2 in the wings there. So it's different stages, but and they're all at different levels. What would you say, Kary, are are the top values that you're hoping to instill in your kids growing up?
I'll tell you what, man, I really am strong into faith. So I think that economies come and go, success comes and goes, but faith is there forever. So if my kids can develop a deep faith, to me, that's the most important thing. Like more than the money, more than any of that stuff, faith in God, 100%. But beyond that, I just really want to celebrate them. And I know some parents are diehard, you got to go to this college. Listen, I did a bachelor, master, and doctorate, and I kind of think, I don't know, like I'm not really going to push my kids towards college because now I love entrepreneurship. And it's not that all the schooling was bad, but I feel like sometimes we overestimate it, and we put too much importance on it. So these days I'm like, look, I like what Sarah Blakely's dad said, founder of Spanx. She said, "How have you failed this week?" And if they didn't have any, if they didn't have any ways that they failed, her dad was ticked. So I kind of view that as well. Like, hey guys, I don't care if you fail. I want you exploring. I want you experimenting. Of course, within moral bounds. But just this whole perfectionism, man, I think we crushed that from a young age of like, you can't do something unless you're going to be number one. And I feel like that's really toxic, and I don't want to be that type of dad.
Yeah, very well said. And obviously, I mean, we're seeing the way that the social media has blown up here. And I brought on a lot of entrepreneurs that have really crushed it too in life. And I've asked them, is college necessary to succeed in today's world? And I think more and more people are proving that it's really not as necessary as we once thought it was, because so many different ways to make income, especially with this online world here. We just saw, I mean, we're doing this the day after a YouTuber just made $20 million, fighting one of the greatest fighters in the world. So anything is possible right now just by turning on a screen and filming yourself. So it's crazy the opportunity that's out there. I just wanted to touch on this, Kary. I mean, you mentioned there too, you grew up, had a speech disorder. Obviously, you have been able to overcome and crush that. What kind of advice do you have out there for parents that have kids that are in a similar situation to where you were in your life, speech disorder and similar?
So speech disorder and self-injury and depression. I mean, it was a pretty big deal. My wife's a counselor. We've been married now for we're going on 21 years this October 14th. She's amazing. So what I would say is she often builds in talk time with the kids. And I'm kind of the activity time guy. She's the talk time. But I do feel that journaling is really good for some kids. Meaning not every kid can sit down and talk about their feelings. So for me, what got me out of my depression was journaling. And obviously it turned into writing, and now I'm a writer, as well as many other things. But I would say, listen, keep the conversation rolling with your kids. And whether it's activities, Gary Chapman's 5 love languages, right? Words of affirmation, quality time, acts of kindness, all this type of thing. I think study your kid, know what their love language is. My son, his love language is food. So and that's not a real one, but you know what I'm saying. So we went to Top Golf the other day for the first time and just ordered some food and hit some golf balls around. And so he's more the activity guy. But I can tell, like, when I get frustrated with my daughter, like, man, words of affirmation, words can mean anything, and the wrong tone, the upset tone, that can just be deep. So tell you what, Alec, I don't have it all figured out, but I know that keeping the conversation with your kids is huge. My wife and I, from a young age, we would put in rules about, and listen, some people might not agree, but we would say, your phone's not in your room at night. That's a big thing for some kids. They're like, I'm not going to do that. But we started that at a young age. Your phone's not in your room, because we didn't want them sleeping with it. And I wrote a book called Unhackable where the average person touches, clicks, swipes, taps their smartphone 2,600 times a day. So how can I as a dad compete with a digital screen? I can't. And so the thing is, like, create margin, create downtime from the smartphones.
Yeah, I think we're all struggling with that as parents. And just myself over the last few years doing this podcast, I've become more and more addicted to the screen myself. So I'm trying to practice what I preach, and it is difficult and gotten more challenging here as time has gone on. And you touched on it just a little bit there too. But what type of disciplinarian are you as a dad, and is that different than the discipline style that you grew up with?
Oh, that's good. Discipline's important. I kind of I respond well to that militant discipline. Me as a person, I was in wrestling. I like the black and white. I like the tough coach. I like the tough. That's how I respond, but my kids do not respond that way. So my wife has, man, she's so good. She's really balanced me, and she tends to be more relational, more chill, more let's talk it out. And so I think we make a good combo because at times you do need the rules, you do need the black and white, but then other times you do need the, hey, I know we said this, but let's work and let's flex and let's hear it. So I like that balanced approach concept.
Yeah, good stuff. And just as you mentioned there before, I always recommend that to a lot of parents. I've done it with my kids, the 5 love languages, because I know it's always recommended to do with your wife, but it's also really good to do with your kids. And I've done with my older kids, I've done that, and it's been very eye opening because each one of them respond differently to to different forms of discipline.
Yeah.
And one thing I stress on this show, Kary, we got a fatherless crisis going on. We got so many kids growing up without a father or a father figure in their life. And I think that's having a real devastating, result here on our society. So it's important not only to have the father presence, but the discipline as well.
Absolutely. I mean, every kid hates discipline, and at the time, but we all know it. The friends that they have who don't have any parents who discipline them, those kids wish they did have discipline. It shows that they're loved. And when a parent's just like, I don't care, whatever you want, do whatever you want, like that doesn't create boundaries and safety. So I do think even, for the dad who's listening, who's getting pushed back and the kids are saying we don't want discipline, I would say, listen, man, show them. In my favorite book, it says that a father disciplines his kids, with love. So I think it is important.
Yeah, and you mentioned there Unhackable, one of your books. You got several of them out there. Which one could you recommend to the dads out there that are listening? Which one do you think is the best for maybe for the new dad or just any dad out there that he could get the most from out of the ones that you've written?
Yeah, I would say let's go with Unhackable because, it doesn't say technology is the enemy. Technology is a tool. We're using it right now, but that tool can very quickly use us. We become the tool. And human knowledge right now doubles every 12 hours. It used to double back when we were kids. 1,000 years it would take. So it would be these lifetimes of doubling. Today, it's doubling every 12 hours because everyone's content creation and social media. And so I would just encourage people, like, you need to become unhackable. And the reason why is because otherwise you will not accomplish anything. Focus. And they have a cryptocurrency now, Alec, called the basic attention token. So even attention is now a cryptocurrency where you get credit if you're on a browser. Look, before people pay for a cost, a service, they pay attention. And so I encourage people, like, listen, attention economy, guard it, protect it, take vacations with your family. Even when you take a vacation with your family, wow, this would be novel. Say, you know what, let's go off the grid for social media, even for a day, even for a half a day. The amount of memories, the laughter, the connection, the eye contact, it's so different than everyone just glued to their screen. We have a rule, and again, it's tough to instill these rules if you don't start them young, but you can always do it. But we don't have any screens at the table, any mealtime, any out to eat. We're not crazy parents, but there's just key little pockets of time. When we're in church, no screens. So just those little times in the day where you just need to reset your brain.
Yeah, right on with that, Kary. We're the same way. We eat dinner together as a family at 6 o'clock every day. No screens, but it's my favorite part of the day because we're all together. All the distractions are out of the way, and we can just really engage with one another. So Definitely Unhackable. I'm going to include the link in the description of this podcast episode so my listeners can get over there, tap it, and check it out. What else you got coming up here? What kind of goals or plans? Any more books? What's coming up next for you here?
Oh yeah, man. I'm always writing books. I just wrote one release this week called Show Up, Filled Up, and it's about how to partner with influencers. So a lot of times people are like, man, how do I get influencers to pay attention to me? And look, I got some crazy stories about how I've done that. Even like the warden from Shawshank Redemption. I didn't know him, but he helped me launch one of my books. And the way that you do it is by showing up, filled up. In other words, how can I add value to other people versus how can I take from people? So all those principles that are good for fatherhood, I find that they're good in business as well. So, man, I'm working on all kinds of stuff, blockchain stuff coming up, crazy stuff, and it's I love it. I love it. My kryptonite is like, hey, look, man, you love life and your job so much, like you gotta stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know some dads like hate their job. I'll tell you what, I gotta end with this quote. Carl Jung, Swiss psychologist, amazing quote here. He said, and you'd like it for fatherhood. He said the most damaging thing in the life of a child, okay, like that's a big thing. What is it? It's not alcoholism. It's not abuse. It's not abandonment. It's the unlived life of the parent. So the parent who does not live a life on fire, I call it a soul on fire. That's the most damaging thing for a kid. It's not, hey, we didn't get him the latest Xbox. So I think as a dad, as a mom, the best thing you can do is to be a soul on fire, to live a full life, and your kid will look at that and be like, wow, that's unique. That's rare. I want to be like mom or dad.
Yeah, very well said, Kary. You kind of stole the thunder there because the last question I usually love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast here, maybe you can add a touch to it. What kind of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Yeah, I would say this. Invest in them early, because the Cats in the Cradle song, like it's true, man. Dads who say, I'll just invest in the kids when they get to be adults, it's too late. And so I would say all the time that you can invest early will then create the relationship, as opposed to, oh, now they're older, now I'll invest in them. So, and then give yourself some grace, man. Like, fatherhood is tough. And I just, I'm a person of faith, so I believe in grace. I have grace. But give yourself some grace, because you've never done this before. No dad's perfect, and you're doing the best you can. And so, enjoy this time.
Yeah, great stuff. I love the message. There's been a lot of fun for me. I got to say, Kary Oberbrunner, you're a first-class father all the way. And thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Thanks for having me, Alec.